I love this filter. It is adorable. I love Stitch because he's a chaos demon just like me. But anyways, um I had a purpose. I had a purpose for starting this video. So, I was thinking about life and I think I'm starting to realize that maybe my whole life has been a lie because I don't know if I have gotten to the point where I'm so detached from who I used to be that it feels like a lie, or if my entire persona and everything about who I am or was completely based on what others wanted me to feel in the moments of interaction with them. And after because realizing that, because I do consider myself both, the psychological and metaphysical version of an empath, where I can just read into people and see their emotions through just, watching their facial expressions, body language, and all of that stuff. But I also can pick up on the extra shit through the metaphysical version of it and pick up stuff that you wouldn't be able to see on, just upon observing them. And one of the things that I was always able to do is pinpoint exactly how they expected me to feel interacting with them. Kind of like, this is going to be a bad example, but this is the only one I can really think of off the top of my head. Kind of like, after a while, getting spankings didn't really hurt anymore. And so I would pretend to cry as a kid to make sure I didn't get a worse punishment. So, because I didn't know what would be next if I just stopped crying. And so when it would stop hurting, then I would, conjure up the emotions that I was expected to feel and cry. And then, go on from there and just return to normal when nobody could see me again. And I have done this my whole life for survival. So if somebody expected me to be, happy about something that I wasn't happy about, I could feel that is what they wanted, grab hold of that emotion and turn it into my emotion to the point where I could actually convince myself that I really did feel this way. And upon thinking back on some of the stuff that I have experienced throughout my life, I realized that maybe I don't really have feelings. I don't know, cuz I got labeled a lot when I was younger as mean and just a bitch. Maybe they didn't say that word, but it was implied. I got labeled a lot as being mean and bitchy and just self-centered, I guess. And it's not that I didn't have emotions. It's not that I didn't care. It's just that logic always preceded the emotional part of it. It's yeah, I feel some type of way, but logically speaking, I only have control over me. I don't have control over everybody else. But because people always seem to expect me to react in a really emotional way, I learned to take whatever emotional reaction they were expecting, make myself feel it, and then display that outward to fit in with whatever it was that they wanted from me at the time so that I wouldn't continue to get called a bitch. Because there was plenty of times where, during certain times I would just pretend to cry when, I was supposed to be doing something sad. Like one time when one boyfriend that I had that I didn't really want to be with in the first place, but I didn't know exactly how to break up with somebody and how to get past them crying. So I ended up staying longer than I really wanted to. And when he finally broke it off, I was relieved. but I also like had to conjure up the feeling of sadness, and I pretended to cry so that it didn't seem like I was a straight up bitch, because like everybody already thought I was cold hearted. And so, most people, if they didn't know me directly, they stayed away from me because of that. And whatever, I didn't really too much care, but I didn't want the friends that I did have that were mutuals to think of me any differently. And so, yeah, I pretended to cry and like be upset about it, but I I really didn't care. I didn't. And it sounds so heartless, and I don't want to over explain because like that's not me. I'm not trying to justify anything. It's not that I'm a heartless person or I don't care. It's just that if you don't want me, then I don't want you. And sometimes I don't want you anyway. I just didn't know how to fucking say it. And so I let all of this stupid stuff, I can't even fucking explain it. I let what other people expected me to feel run my life for so long. And now that I have been isolated for so long, I no longer have to pretend to care or to react a certain way that somebody else wants me to react, or to be a person that somebody wants me to be, because I have even picked up on what somebody expected, like what type of person someone expected me to be, and turned into that person for the time that I was interacting with them. And if I even let the mask slip to where like I started to act more like myself, because at some point somebody might actually make me feel safe, at least on some level. And then when I like let the quirky, chaotic version of me like out to more of a degree than normal, then they kind of like start looking at me funny, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not allowed. And so I like pull back into myself, and it's like, okay, so they can only handle this much of me. Okay, cool. And I've done it so long out of like survival that I couldn't I couldn't fathom a world where I wasn't pretending, where I wasn't, where like I was able to actually be who I am to the fullest. I don't like the way this is sitting. And I dropped the damn thing. Oh well. But I couldn't fathom being my full fucking self until I became isolated and realized that, like, and it took me a long time living by myself to actually feel like it was safe to be who I wanted to be, who I always have been, and pretended that I wasn't for way too long. And the fact that even in my own house, it has taken me a long time to get to the point where I'm like, I am me, and I don't have to be anybody else, is just fucking mind blowing and freeing all at the same time. And I love it here. I do. Because then it doesn't matter how everybody else feels about me. It only matters how I feel about me. And I love this me. I love the previous version of me too, because she didn't know no better and she really just needed that. But this me is the me now. And if you don't like it, I don't give a fuck. And I'm liable to tell you that. I'm not pretending for nobody no more. Life is supposed to be enjoyed, and I'm gonna motherfucking do it. Fuck what everybody else says.